Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, there's a lot of these auctions. They're on television. In fact, I've been watching auctions on television for over 20 years, or maybe a little under 20 years. But I've never actually been to one of these automobile auctions myself until I attended the Mecum auction just not too very far from Motor Cars HQ just a couple of weeks ago. I have to say, the experience was pretty amazing. In fact, way better than I ever could have imagined. Now, you think of one of these auctions, you think a lot about muscle cars, like a Boss 429 that was there. A homologation car, at least for the engine side of things, for NASCAR. Another homologation car was the All-American Racing AAR CUDA. Was actually a homologation car for the Trans Am series back in the day. Then you think about some of the great names in the muscle car world, including Don Yanko, who owned a dealership, one of the first groups to get on that whole Copo thing, where they were sneaking out high-performance engines inside of these machines being built across the factory lines. And then you think another NASCAR homologation car, the Charger 500, where they built 500 of them because that's how many NASCAR said they had to build for that particular year to make these a super speedway run machine. And then if you're not a big muscle car fan, there's tons of stuff that if you're not into that, think of like the Austin Healey, one of the most gorgeous examples I'd ever laid eyes on. Maybe you're more of a custom car person. Think like this Chevrolet Nomad. Look at them inset bumpers. There was a lot of work done to this particular machine. Another vehicle is much like that, this custom hauler, which was just fantastic to lay your eyes on, even though probably would never ever put an automobile on this vehicle. Then there were some interesting custom machines, including this. It was actually built by school kids. In fact, I talked to one of the representatives that was following this car off the block. They had two of these automobiles that the school kids had built. They're going across the block to raise money to buy more cars and more parts for these kids to actually go back and build more automobiles next year. So that was pretty doggone cool indeed. Maybe you're not as big a fan of cars. Maybe you're a truck guy. How about this big old Bronco? Very, very beautiful inside and out. In fact, I don't think you would ever take this thing off-road. It was that nice. Then you think about the old Chevrolet Cameo. This vehicle was actually done in a more modern-day run with big wheels and tires and whatnot. And think about back when Dodge kind of went crazy, at least for the first time, when they started putting all aluminum V10s out of the Viper into Ram pickup trucks. Put them in 2 doors and 4 doors. This particular vehicle actually sold for a pretty decent little price. Now, maybe you're not much of a truck fan. Maybe you're a sports car guy. One of these modern-day 5th gen Yanko Camaros. Yes, the Yanko name coming back, not actually involved with Don Yanko, but this group actually building not only these Gen 5 Camaros, but also building C7 Corvettes as well. This is the first time I got to see one of these in the flesh. In fact, if you head on over to the Facebook page, the Motor Cars Facebook page, I did a Facebook Live video of this vehicle going across the block. You think of more sports car goodness, you think about the old NSX. Still as classy and as gorgeous as it ever was back in the day. Now in modern day, it still looks just amazing. Another one of the top of the tree Corvettes from back in the day, even though it was just last generation, the C6 ZR1. This one's now 5 years old and oddly enough, claims only have 150 miles on the clock, which would make a pretty prime example of this machine. Another one of these vehicles, think of the old Grand Tours, the 928 Porsche. You think about Porsche, you think about rear engine or mid-engine. This thing was front-engined and was still just as gorgeous as it ever was way back in the day. What about more of a supercar person? How about a 25th anniversary Lamborghini Countach? Yes, way back when Chrysler actually owned Lamborghini. Another one of those high-end machines being the 599 Ferrari. It was the top of the tree in the Ferrari lineup from back in the day. Another top-of-the-tree machine. The Ford GT. These were selling for stupid money just a couple of years ago. Kind of come down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how they do auction-wise over the next couple of years. And the SLS Mercedes-Benz, that was actually a pretty cool piece of kit. Don't see those a whole lot around in this neck of the woods, even in convertible trim. And then even a Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera was actually going across the block as well. Maybe you're somewhat of a like me, a little bit more of a quirky kind of vehicle. How about this machine? What do you think about when you think of this vehicle? I think about Clark Griswold crisscrossing the country to head to Wally World. Yeah, you're welcome for now getting that movie theme song stuck in your head for a tad bit of time. How about this particular machine, a 300ZX? In fact, it looked like they took this vehicle off the showroom floor, stuck it in a building, and that's where it's set till today, because it looked as mint as it did when it was brand new. Another one of those vehicles that looked pretty doggone mint was a handful of wreckers or recovery vehicles that were wandering around. In fact, there was 3 or 4 of these wandering around back when you had to hand crank the old winch on the back of these vehicles. How about a Reliant Regal? Yes, I ran out in the rain to go take a picture of these little 3-wheel little goodies. These were pretty hilarious back in the day. Think about the old Amphicar. Yes, it wasn't a very good car. It wasn't a very good boat. I've seen a bunch of these in my lifetime and never ever actually seen one in the water. Maybe this one actually has made it to water. And then think about this vehicle, the old GMC Cyclone back in the, late 80s, early 90s. This thing was the king of the hill as far as performance vehicles, and oddly enough, it was a pickup truck. It wasn't an actual sports car. All-wheel drive, turbocharged. Think about their SUV brother in the Typhoon. They were pretty doggone cool indeed. Maybe you're more of a racer fan. How about a dirt track, oval track automobile? Maybe a altered wheelbase, what's now become the modern day funny car. How about a big dragster? Yes, this has got an interesting story. The old Frank Petragon machine, Cruz and Tony Petragon, his sons, who are both NHRA Funny Car World Champions, actually built this machine between the two of them. Then you think about the old Pro Stock, Super Stock days with a real deal first-gen Cobra Jet. First time Ford actually built a Cobra Jet. Not only did they have one of the first ones, they had one of the later ones that are actually going across the block as well, the old modern-day Cobra Jet. Then we'll talk about some of the rare stuff, including this machine. This was rare for a weird reason. It had an interesting story. This Cougar was done in the silver paint. The silver paint was not available from Mercury for that particular year. In fact, it was a Ford color from 2 years earlier. So apparently this person who made this order actually had to do some finagling to get a color that wasn't in Mercury's color palette. Another one of these rare machines, remember the old Z8 Alpine? They only built 555 of them for this particular year. In fact, they only built, 2,500 or something of the standard Z8. The high-performance Alpine, they only built 555 for the world, so this is a pretty rare piece as well. Another vehicle like this, and I wish this picture would have turned out better, the 2000 GT, the sexiest Japanese car ever built, especially built by Toyota. I never ever thought I would lay my eyes on one of these machines in the flesh. It was a sight to behold. Bid to near $1 million, but didn't actually sell. Another vehicle I never thought I'd lay my eyes on, a brand new Aston Martin Vulcan built back in 2015 almost till present. They only built 24 of these for the world. Only 3 of them reside in the United States. This one did not go across the block, but still a pretty cool piece of kit. And then this, one of the most interesting cars that was there. This had a VIN tag 0002. Yes, the second ever built Ford Mustang. In fact, it was the first one with a hard top. The first one was actually a convertible at the World's Fair. Started the whole thing. Straight 6, 4 on the floor. It wasn't the most desirable drivetrain package. This thing bid up to quite a bit of money, but didn't actually sell as well. It may have sold after the auction was over, but this was must-have as far as a Mustang lover. And I tell you what, the whole auction experience itself was fantastic. It moves on at a brisk pace. It's easy to follow along with. They even have little booklets. You can go along with it. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a Mecum auction, grasp onto it with both hands and head on over. I guarantee you're going to have a pretty doggone good time. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. The first dibs in the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.